and business is good.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. A new lead tonight in the story of the nation's worst oil spill ever. An Exxon company spokesman has suggested that the captain of the tanker, which ran aground early Friday, spilling its crude oil, had been in a, quote, company treatment program 5 years ago. The spokesman did not make it clear whether the treatment was for alcohol or drug abuse. We have two reports on this story with its enormous environmental impact potential. We begin with John Blackstone on the scene in Valdez, Alaska.
Arctic winds gusting to 45 miles an hour stopped cleanup efforts in Prince William Sound today. Waves 6 feet high broke booms holding back 5,000 barrels of oil around the leaking tanker. The wind has reshaped the 11 million gallon oil slick, driving it into a strip a half-mile wide and more than 40 miles long. Coast Guard aircraft charted the new dimensions of the problem. For the first time, the stain of oil is visible washing up on rocky islands of the Sound.
The oil has spread down onto the beaches, heavy pollution along the beaches, heavy brown sludge.
Investigators plan to interview the captain and key members of the crew. The captain will be asked why he left the helm and left control of the ship to an unqualified pilot. Results of blood alcohol tests on the captain and 2 officers are not yet ready. Near the village of Tatitlik, fingers of oil are already reaching down the channel.
It's just a small channel, but there's, if you look at this water here, you can see the signs of it, the beginning sign.
One oil-soaked duck has already been pulled from the water nearby.
This whole area, there's going to be thousands of ducks all through this whole area. And if that oil comes in here, they won't last long. And the spawns, the seals come in, the sea lions. Sea otters have their pups out here. This whole area is going to be gone if that oil comes in anymore.
The natives of Tatitlik live by fishing and hunting. They say the oil spill even threatens the deer they hunt, because in the winter, the deer eat seaweed on the beaches. Naked Island now lies in the path of the reshaped slick. Its inlets and beaches are home to water birds and eagles. The birds feed in bays abundant with fish. The fishing is good here partly because local fishermen have built a hatchery at Valdez. 135 million newly hatched pink salmon are almost ready for their spring release into Prince William Sound. The fishermen fear they may not survive this spill. But the oil industry, too, will feel the impact. The Alaskan disaster that has been feared since oil was discovered here has finally happened. John Blackstone, CBS News, Valdez, Alaska.
Exxon has admitted that Joseph Hazelwood, the captain of its supertanker, was not in command when the ship ran aground. According to a spokesman, the ship was under the control of the third mate, Gregory Cousins, who was not licensed for those waters. That is an apparent violation of federal and company regulations, and Exxon has said it will pay.
We have assumed full responsibility, and we have defined that as all reasonable claims, and beyond that, I really can't be fined for it.
The law requires Exxon to pay $14 million of its own money to help clean up the spill, but it can use up to $86 million more from a special fund Congress created when it authorized the Alaska pipeline in 1973. Oil companies have paid a tax of 5 cents a barrel into the fund, which now totals about $300 million.
I think there was obviously a concern when the act was set up that there be money available in the event of a spill because it's a pristine area.
A former captain of the Exxon Valdez says Prince William Sound is also a confined area, and that's why the ship's captain has to be in command in those waters.
Normally, probably a third mate could bring it in and out there, but it increased the risk factor very much.
Crude oil prices started climbing this morning as traders reacted to the spill and the closing of Valdez Harbor. Analysts say those traders are afraid the oil spill will lead to tougher regulations.
The immediate impact on us is that the price is up over 50 cents a barrel in the U.S. This morning, and as that's passed through to the consumer, that adds over a penny per gallon at the pump.
In Valdez, supertankers are already waiting to take on more oil and can be filled quickly once the port is opened.
As soon as the port of Valdez is open and operating normally, the price impact should dissipate almost immediately.
But the legal and environmental questions are more lingering, and they will take years to resolve. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, New York.
In the Soviet Union, it may be days, if not weeks, before all of the votes are counted and the full story is clear, but we already know these things about the historic nationwide elections just completed. For the first time since the revolution in 1917, the counting of votes had meaning. For Mikhail Gorbachev, there was some good news, some bad, and some hard to tell. CBS News Moscow correspondent Barry Peterson is covering the Soviets' election 89.
Boris Yeltsin is a man with a mandate in a country savoring its first taste of competitive politics. I feel good, he told co-workers at the construction ministry, where he was given a job as deputy minister after his ouster from the Politburo a year ago. But he took pains to clarify his success. They accuse me of creating a second party, he said. That's a lie. During an interview in his office, he played down his differences with Mikhail Gorbachev. I'm not in opposition, he said. He called his own win a real step forward for democracy and admitted, I never thought I'd be in such a tough campaign. Still, Yeltsin insisted today he's not tired. Just ask my tennis partner, he said. But now he faces the next hurdle. The Council of Deputies will choose from among its members a few hundred to become the ruling body, the new Supreme Soviet. Yeltsin must make that next cut if he is to have any real power, and his enemies within the party will try to stop him. The size of Yeltsin's victory wasn't known until late afternoon when the Election Commission certified that 89% of the more than 5.7 million Moscow voters cast ballots for Yeltsin. Yeltsin is one of the politicians, she says, that could take the place of Gorbachev. In this country of chronic shortages and a falling standard of living, the Yeltsin race was a chance for long-suffering Soviets to send a message to Gorbachev.
That there is not much time left for producing some results in the stores and on the tables.
Meanwhile, in hundreds of other races, the vote counting continues, the Soviets waiting the results of their newfound right to pick and choose among candidates. In some races, it may be more than a week before the winners are known. But in the case of Boris Yeltsin, where the results are known, the people discovered they may now be able to do what the party would not, bring him back to power. Barry Peterson, CBS News, Moscow.
The worst ethnic violence in Yugoslavia in nearly 10 years escalated today in the embattled southern province of Kosovo. 2 policemen were shot dead by rioting ethnic Albanians. Police used tear gas and the Yugoslav government imposed a curfew. The protests have been non-stop since last week when the neighboring Serbian Republic was given more power over Kosovo and its mainly Muslim Albanian majority. Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News. Eric Ingberg on the reactor accident in this country that set off the reaction against nuclear power. And correspondent Anthony Mason on the Indian beauty at the center of the newest London scandal.
Which fruit has the most fiber per serving? This one, the prune. Prunes, the high-fiber fruit.
The pain is in the back of the head, and like I say, in the temples, and it'll pound. Being a fireman is stressful, so I'd say stress could bring that on real easily.
Jim Dayan is trying extra-strength Tylenol gel caps. For pain like his, nothing, not aspirin, not ibuprofen, works better.
I feel great. Yeah. I feel back to normal, ready to go. It's gone.
New extra-strength Tylenol gel caps. In the real world of everyday pain, nothing works better.
Great news. I don't need surgery for my hemorrhoids. The doctor said they're not that serious. He said use Preparation H.
Preparation H helps shrink swelling of tissues as it often relieves pain and itching for hours. Preparation H, also in new cream.
We compared the Subaru Justy ECVT from 0 to 60 against 3 popular automatics. Against the Hyundai Excel, we blew their doors off. Against the Toyota Tercel, we blew their doors off. And against the Porsche 928S, well, they blew our doors off. But with a price of only $77.91, we can afford to get our doors fixed. Test drive it.
Get $500 back on a Subaru Justy or 4.9 financing through May 2nd.
Another guilty plea today in the still slow-going investigation of massive defense contract fraud inside and outside the Pentagon. 9 days after he was hospitalized reportedly for an overdose of pills, defense consultant William Parkin pleaded guilty today to bribing a Navy official to get defense contract information. The FBI made fresh efforts today trying to solve that bombing in California 2 weeks ago, where the wife of a U.S. Navy captain who mistakenly shot down an Iranian airliner was the target. Correspondent Jerry Bowen has the latest.
Looking for a break in its probe of the van bombing involving the wife of the skipper of the missile cruiser Vincennes, the FBI has turned to a local San Diego Crime Stoppers program. The 60-second announcement, which began airing today, features a reenactment of how a pipe bomb may have been attached to the van, a recreation of the bombing incident, and an interview with Sharon Rogers describing her narrow escape. Her face is electronically masked at her request.
At the same time, I heard an explosion. I opened up the door. I smelled burning.
It's strongly believed, though not confirmed, that the bombing was the work of terrorists retaliating against Vincennes skipper Will Rogers for last July's mistaken downing of an Iran Air passenger jet. After the van bombing, the Rogers went into hiding, and the sudden fear of terrorism sparked a controversy no one was prepared for.
My life has been threatened. That of my family has been threatened. I have lost my job. I can't go back to my home.
Officials at the private school where Sharon Rogers had taught for 12 years told her not to return to work, not to come back to her fourth-grade classroom. They were concerned the school might be targeted too, concerned they couldn't protect the children.
An independent school is just not set up to meet a terrorist activity.
In San Diego today, people were saying that one pipe bomb made many victims.
They should have not dismissed her at all. In principle, it sounds nice, but practically, where children's lives are at risk, I really couldn't see any other decision for them.
Meanwhile, investigators hope the televised reenactment of the bombing will jog some memories, produce witnesses with information that may break the case. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Guatemala's top human rights official opened negotiations today with armed prison inmates holding as many as 650 hostages. Most are women and children. As many as 10 people were killed when inmates seized the prison yesterday as family members were paying Easter visits. They seized weapons belonging to guards. Hundreds of troops have surrounded the prison outside Guatemala City. A black South African detainee who was the subject of a report by correspondent Martha Teisner on the CBS Evening News last Friday ended his 5-week hunger strike today. Sandile Tusi has been jailed without charge since last June. Tusi said he's ending his strike pending talks with the government about his release.
You know, the other day my MCI rep called me up. Says he'd like to stop by with some new ideas. I think my long distance gets complicated again. Then he shows me how I've outgrown my current MCI service. And with a couple of changes, I can have more efficient, more economical long distance. I couldn't believe it. This MCI guy called me up to lower the bill.
Until you call, you'll never know how much better a long-distance company can be. MCI. Let us show you.
Kellogg's isn't the best tasting Post, The best tasting Raisin Bran is Raisin Nut Bran, because our raisins are special, covered with nuts, nutty, plump, and tender. One taste and you'll say, Raisin Nut Bran is the best tasting Raisin Bran.
Since the turn of the century, there have been 16 presidents and one original Bengay. There have been 580 Nobel Prize winners and one original Bengay. There have been 12 men who walked on the moon and one original Bengay. But now we're introducing a different formula Bengay, Bengay warming ice. It goes on cool, then warms as its scent disappears. For fast relief of minor arthritis pain, warming ice. For Bengay, it's a once-in-a-lifetime introduction.
See the colors of Puerto Rico, colors, colors everywhere. Puerto Rico, the shining star.
A setback today for the Oliver North defense. The judge presiding over North's criminal trial rejected moves by North's lawyers trying to compel former President Reagan to be their lead-off witness. Friday, Judge Gerhard Gesell left open the possibility Mr. Reagan may be called to give sworn testimony later. North's lawyers have been working to portray the former president as much more directly involved in the Iran-Contra wheeling and dealing and possible lawbreaking than Mr. Reagan has ever let on. Justices of the United States Supreme Court heard arguments today on a capital punishment controversy, arguments for and against the death penalty for juveniles who kill. CBS News reporter Ron Allen has more about the Constitution and the question, how young is too young to die?
In the early morning hours of January 8, 1981, police in Louisville, Kentucky found the body of 20-year-old Bearbell Poor slumped in the back seat of her car. The gas station clerk and mother of a young child had been murdered after being terrorized for nearly an hour.
In this particular crime, the individual planned a robbery, went into a convenience store, raped and sodomized a young woman on the bathroom floor, then took her out into an isolated area of the city, let her smoke a cigarette, fired 2 bullets into her head.
A Kentucky jury convicted Kevin Stanford of firing the .38 caliber pistol that killed Poor. He was 17 years old when the crime was committed, but tried as an adult.
I'd like to see him get the death penalty.
But Bearbell Poor's father has yet to get his wish. Stanford's death sentence has been an appeal for several years, as has the case of Heath Wilkins of Missouri, who was 16 years old when he stabbed to death a 26-year-old mother of 2 during a convenience store robbery. Today, the Supreme Court heard both cases to decide if juvenile murderers should be sentenced to death. Attorneys for the defendants argued that capital punishment for juveniles violates society's standards of decency. They asked the justices to draw the line at 18 years of age. But Justice Antonin Scalia pointed out that judges had allowed the defendants to be tried as adults, and juries had considered their ages when passing sentence. And prosecutors argued that some juveniles should be punished as adults.
When certain types of youths who have the maturity and sophistication and the background that may lead them to commit the kind of atrocious crime that was committed in this particular case, then the death penalty should be available to punish them.
But critics of capital punishment say that ignores the chance for rehabilitation.
The primary cure for delinquency is getting older. And when he's 35 or 45 or 55, he won't do the things he did when he was 16 or 17. So in essence, we know he will change almost always for the better.
There are currently 31 juveniles on death row. Ultimately, the court must decide if the death penalty violates their constitutional protection against cruel and unusual punishment. Ron Allen, CBS News at the Supreme Court.
President Bush presided personally today over the Easter egg roll on the White House lawn. Sunny skies, sunny faces, balloons, and bunnies.
Checking in.
We interrupt this transaction for a reminder. The Discover card actually pays you cash back for every charge.
Nice job, everybody.
It pays to Discover.
Hot tea all day doesn't stop this denture wearer from hitting high C.
Hot tea? Fix-it-ent and forget it.
Give up hot chocolate just because I started wearing dentures? Scamp!
Hot chocolate? Fix-it-ent and forget it. Heat-resistant Fix-it-ent spreads evenly to keep on fixing loose spots, no matter how often it gets hot.
I can drink hot coffee all day and still help a lady.
Heat-resistant. One more reason to use Fix-it-ent and forget it.
You've been hearing a lot of news recently about the importance of including whole grain in your diet. But of these leading cereals, only one is made from 100% whole grain. Only Wheaties. So Only Wheaties gives you whole grain nutrition. And maybe that's why Only Wheaties has Michael Jordan. Better get your whole grain.
You better eat your Wheaties.
Look at Frank's yard. I don't have a yard like that. Look at that John Deere tractor. I don't need a tractor like that. Want to see what I got?
Introducing the new STX lawn tractor, the basic John Deere, with a price that's just as basic.
10 years ago tomorrow, the United States came up against the nuclear power plant nightmare of 3 Mile Island. A partial reactor core meltdown at the Pennsylvania plant, a meltdown of public confidence in the industry. There hasn't been a single order for a new commercial nuclear power plant in the United States since. Cleanup, lawsuits, and questions about long-term health risks of TMI persist. CBS News correspondent Eric Ingberg reports on the legacy of 3 Mile Island 10 years after.
March 28, 1979, early morning. What was to become the worst civilian nuclear power accident in American history begins in a fog of confusion that grows by the hour.
That's fine. Right. We do not know where the hell the plant was going. Very small traces of radioactivity have been released from the plant.
But it quickly became apparent that no one knew precisely what was happening, which only made the crisis more frightening.
We've advised those who may be particularly susceptible to the effects of radiation, that is, pregnant women and preschool-age children, to leave the area within a 5
Please stay indoors with your windows closed.
As the truth came out over the years, it only added to the credibility gap that still haunts the nuclear power industry 10 years later.
The investigations found it was nothing as exotic as nuclear fission which had gone wrong. It was mostly plumbing and people.
Months before the accident, workers had discovered the reactor's vital water cooling system was leaking somewhere. But managers concealed this from the government. Instead, tests were falsified.
They would get maybe 19 tests that were accurate, showing that they had excessive leakage, and then the 20th test would be an outlier, which would sort of say that everything was okay, and they would then use that as a correct test.
Hal Ornstein, then an accident investigator, now senior reactor engineer for the NRC, contends the concealed leak problem set the stage for disaster. The uranium fuel in the reactor's core must be cooled by a moving stream of piped-in water. But this day, a valve jams open, diverting the water into a drain. High temperature readings should have pointed to the problem. But this clue is missed by operators who have become accustomed to abnormal readings.
The operators had a decreased or diminished ability to detect a dangerous situation.
No one spots the leak for 2 hours as water pours through the valve and into the basement. Half the core melts. It takes several days to bring the reactor under control, and some radioactivity is released into the air.
This is a dandelion leaf that I found September 1st, 1984.
10 years later, controversy rages over the damage done. Mary Osborne still collects oddly formed plant life. Joyce Karate's son was born with an ear deformity.
I don't know what caused that, but I have a grave concern for the future of my child.
Who's that?
My teacher.
That's your teacher. What's her
Bradley Baker was born exactly 9 months after the accident, with Down syndrome. His lawsuit was settled for $1 million. 2,000 other suits are still pending.
What people need is the truth. I mean, in anything with nuclear power, we need the truth. We need to know if it is harming us or if it isn't.
Studies by Pennsylvania officials found no health problems from the accident.
We studied up to 20-mile radius. There was no indication of abnormal pattern of cancer.
We know, based on research with respect to radiation, we know there will be no health effects.
But local researchers found unusually high cancer rates in some areas. And critics say no one can be sure how much radiation escaped.
It's not possible to say, in my judgment, that no injuries were caused. We can't say that at this time.
The billion-dollar cleanup of nuclear debris is due to end this year. The wreckage sent by rail to a nuclear dump in Idaho. TMI plant number 2 will be left a hulk. Nuclear power, which 10 years ago was favored by most Americans, lost its majority support in opinion polls immediately after the accident and never got it back. Perhaps the strongest legacy of 3 Mile Island has been fear. Eric Ingberg, CBS News, Middletown, Pennsylvania.
Make it easy on yourself.
Because you've got things to do and places to go, Easy Off makes greasy cleanups easy on ovens, broilers, frying pans, glass casseroles, and lots more.
Make it easy on yourself.
Easy Off Oven Cleaner gets into tight spots scouring pads find hard to reach. It does a lot in the kitchen, so you can do more out of it.
Make it easy on yourself.
With original heavy-duty Easy Off.
What do more drivers say after an oil change with Pennzoil at Jiffy Lube?
I can drive for miles and miles. I can drive for miles and miles. I can drive for miles and miles and miles and miles.
Every 3,000 miles, quality Pennzoil, lube, fluids, 10 minutes. Jiffy Lube, we give more cars more miles and miles.
When my arthritis pain acts up, even little things are a big effort. But I don't take aspirin anymore. I take Advil. Advil is the brand many doctors recommend for hours of relief from minor arthritis pain. You know, just one Advil is as effective as 2 regular aspirin. And Advil doesn't upset my stomach the way aspirin sometimes can. So now, I don't even have to think about arthritis. Advil, tablets and caplets, advanced medicine for pain.
Well, Britain these days is preoccupied by another, what else, high-powered sex scandal. The last one cost the Prime Minister his job. This one, so far, is causing only embarrassment and anxious denials. Correspondent Anthony Mason has the story of Parliament and the moonlighting beauty queen.
As soon as reporters opened Pamela Bordas' portfolio, her pictures told the story. The former Miss India knew how to make powerful friends. The editor of the London Observer, the boss of the Sunday Times, Mrs. Thatcher's Minister for Sports. She'd been given a research job in Parliament, a pass to the House of Commons. Everyone seemed to smile in her pictures until the press uncovered her other job. Ms. Bordas, it said,
led a double life as a prostitute. The scandal's being seen as a serious breach of security.
And they're all saying, oh no, we never knew her. We never took her out for a cup of tea. It's really glad my editor isn't involved.
But so far, it was all really no more than nasty tabloid gossip, and the British government was more amused than angry. That is, until they found out that Pamela Bordas had one more boyfriend, a Libyan agent, allegedly a major in Libyan intelligence and cousin of Colonel Gaddafi. Parliament was apoplectic.
What is going on here?
Indeed, it all sounded too much like Britain's most popular movie of the moment, the true story of Christine Keeler, who slept with the Minister of War and a Russian spy.
If what this tart has just told me is true, then we are sitting on dynamite.
The real Christine Keeler's revelations brought down Harold Macmillan's government in 1963. Ms. Bordas has hinted that she also knew an unnamed cabinet minister.
We have interviewed them all, and they've all denied it.
For the moment, Pamela Bordas has vanished. Her photos, however, are now fetching thousands of dollars on Fleet Street. London's high and mighty are just hoping they're not in them. As one paper wondered aloud, is there anyone out there she hasn't met? Anthony Mason, CBS News, London.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. See you tomorrow. Good night.
I'm Harry Smith. Tomorrow we'll talk with the new Secretary of Defense, Dick Cheney. Also, the Discovery astronauts join us tomorrow on CBS This Morning.
This is CBS.